If you found this video enjoyable, please leave a like and hell, even subscribe if you want to. It only takes 2 clicks, and push that notification bell just to get the messages for my videos. That would be greatly appreciated. So last week, you guys liked my take on Giorno and just his character overall, and I thought, well, I might continue that with a more opinionated take this week. And I want to do something on Golden Wind because Golden Wind, and I'm going to clarify this now before the video starts, Golden Wind is my 3rd favorite part and consistently fights for 2nd place in my heart for my favorite JoJo part, right next to part 4. So with that being said, what is my biggest problem with Golden Wind? The lack of Giorno content in this part. And to rephrase that question, the lack of Joestar in this part. With all of the other 7 parts, we see a Joestar consistently do things to achieve their goals. I guess for an example, since last week we used Giorno, Giorno shows up in part 3 to save his mother's life, and he is consistently shown to defeat stand users on a weekly basis consistently. If I remember correctly, he has the biggest body count out of all the Joestars, I think, if I remember correctly. He defeats all these people, he goes through the ringer, and he just achieves his goal. And on the flip side of that coin, Giorno just is in the background. When I try to honestly think of Giorno and say, what is a highlight moment for him throughout the entire series? And I literally remember only one, that being his fight against Bucciolati. That is literally it. I just can't remember Giorno being really that important to the plotline, and I think there is a reason for that. I really do think, you know, the phrase a lot of fans say, Bruno is the Joestar of this part, it's kind of the truth of this part, sadly. Does that mean it's bad? No, Bruno is a wonderful character to enjoy, but it's just kind of odd that Araki chose other characters' screen time instead of the Joestar of this part, which is really weird. And speaking about the gang, let's talk about the gang. I feel like the gang really is the focus of this part, which isn't bad necessarily, but I feel like, you know, why is Araki focusing on the gang, not the Joestar? Or, let me rephrase it and actually make it a little bit better, why isn't Giorno being more involved with the group? Giorno is involved, don't get me wrong, but he's not involved in a way which kind of makes him the focus. In the earlier parts of part 5, we can genuinely see this. Giorno is trying to make an effort in being kind of, you know, in the group, but after a while that kind of fizzles out and it more or less becomes the Bucciolati show, which is not bad. I genuinely like it when it's the Bucciolati show. I really do like that, and it's probably one of my favorite reasons why part 5 is so good, at least in my opinion. But I feel like, you know, why isn't Giorno more involved with the group later on in the story? Like, he's there, he's helping out, but he's not, you know, kind of the focus. You know, this is JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, not Giorno, Bruno, and then Mista's Bizarre Adventure. Like, it's just, it's really weird why Araki would choose this kind of route rather than, you know, you just focusing on the Joestar. And even when Giorno's actually helping out, it's very, very minor, to be totally honest. You know, the 2 major parts being, you know, the fight against Man in the Mirror and the fight against White Album. Giorno is there helping out, but he's not the main focus. It's more on, you know, revealing, you know, background stuff, you know, Fugo and Abakio. And in White Album, you know, Giorno's is there to eventually help out Mista get the win. Like, Giorno's not there doing any character progression or involving himself in these character lives to truly, you know, make himself seem better. You could say that maybe Man in the Mirror, but Mista was already like that beforehand when they met Trish with Giorno. But like, Giorno's not doing anything other than just saying, I'm helping in the fight. There's nothing there involving character, and that kind of genuinely sucks. Now, I'm going to add this just because if somebody just calls me out for it in the comment section, that Giorno has already gone through character progression in his own backstory. And yes, I do feel like that's the case, but all these characters went through some type of, you know, character progression in their backstories, and characters can continuously evolve in their own stories even if it's in their backstory. I personally don't feel like, yeah, Giorno's already become his apex in his backstory, and then that's it. His goals and journeys are over. He just wants to become the gang leader now. Like, I feel like that's dumb. You can obviously add more to it. Like, there's not a end all be all when it comes to that type of stuff when it comes to writing. And speaking on that, how can you technically fix Giorno? If you had somehow, you know, went all the way back then and you told Araki these things, how could you have fixed Giorno and just made him overall more intriguing in this plot line to fix said problem that I have? Well, I think, to be totally honest, you just add character dialogue, just add more character involvement with other characters, just get interactions going to where we get to see more of Giorno. I feel like if Araki actually truly wanted to make Giorno a really good character, he could have done that. It would have been very easy. Giorno interacting with all the gang members individually and just slowly building up trust to Giorno would have been actually a hell of a lot better. It would have been very, very interesting just seeing how everybody just personally reacts to Giorno. And I know this part technically doesn't exist in Purple Haze feedback, which is kind of maybe secondary canon for most people. Fugo technically, I'm going to this is like a very rough memory translation right here, that Fugo basically said when he saw Giorno achieve his win against Man in the Mirror and helped him, that he had this radiance around him, that he was some type of godlike being that can truly attain victory. That's what Fugo thought, but we never got to see that in part 5, that kind of character interaction and dialogue within that, Fugo's personal self. That would have been highly intriguing to see in the actual plotline. I know it's non-canon, but that's a really good idea to add to characters like that. It would have just been amazing to see what these other characters thought of Giorno. We barely got to see any of that. We got to saw Bruno's, Abacchio's, and a bit of Mista's personally, but that's it. We didn't really get to see everybody else's reaction towards Giorno. The villains basically was all yeah, we gotta fight Bruno's gang, and then here's the noob. That's it. And I just feel that just frankly sucks. Giorno could have been so much better. You would think being the son of Dio, you would have badass one-liners, a hell of a lot of fights, and just showing that you're the alpha and you should be the boss of Passion, but you don't do any of that. Giorno, of course, is in the background, and I just feel that frankly sucks. It really does. Giorno had a lot of potential in Part 5 Golden Wind to actually truly become something that could have been legendary. Now, I'm going to actually clarify this. I think Giorno, as of now, without any changes and just, without a movie or anything crazy like that, Giorno is okay. The interactions that he has are pretty good. I like him. Giorno, of course, isn't my favorite Joestar, but he is interesting and good to view. He just could have been better from the start. My personal problem is just, I think they focus too much on the gang in this part, and that's not a bad thing. I really do like that a lot. I like the whole gang dynamic. I like all the characters in Golden Wind. I just feel like we should have seen more Giorno and overall what he would have done, hypothetically speaking, in this part. There is a lot of potential for Giorno just to be a badass in this part, and we sadly just don't get that. That's just the cut and dry fix of it all. Giorno just had potential, and just it didn't end up being like that. I do have other problems with part 5, but overall, I feel like this is my biggest nitpick. In the grand scheme of it all, even if Giorno had been a better character, I don't think it would have honestly moved up on my part tier list. It's probably would have stayed number 2 or 3, probably indefinitely number 2, but overall, part 5 is really weird, and I genuinely like that. There are some, minor things that I personally wish would have happened. I wish La Squadra would have actually been in part 5 a lot more, but sadly that didn't happen. We didn't get any interactions between, Risotto and Giorno, which would have actually been hella interesting. I think there's a lot of missed opportunities and interactions in this part alone, but part 5 is good. Just at the end of the day, I like part 5 a lot. I just feel like there are some minor things that could have been improved, that could have just massively made the story a lot better, but that's just my personal opinion. I just wish we got more of Giorno. Giorno, just off the bat of the start of part 5, was just so interesting and eventually just kind of flopped, at least personally for me, but I still like him a lot. Well, that is going to be the end of the video. Like, comment, share, subscribe, follow me on Twitter, stay hydrated. See you in the next one, ladies and gentlemen.